We're going to start recording again because that's very important, Gabby. Soto, who you may know for all her advocacy work over the last several months surrounding the detainees and the conditions in Delaney Hall and the Elizabeth Detention Center in New Jersey. And we are thrilled that she's found some time to talk with us about what has led us to this point, where we are going, and what people like you listening can do to help. Welcome, Gabby. Thank you so much.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Gabby, if we could start by going back a bit, could you tell us what your experience was on the day that your husband, Martine, was taken by ICE?
Well, we had the day pretty well. Um, it was it was around 5 o'clock when we forgot that we had come from a long day of just being out with the kids and family, and then we forgot that we did not have diapers at home. So I was making dinner and I sent him out to get diapers, and he just never came home. It was around 10:30 at night when I received a phone call from a prison jail number, and that's when like I knew that he was taken by ICE. Like it was like I wasn't even scared that he did something. Just when you get a phone call from a correctional center, it usually says the like Hudson County Jail or Essex County Jail. But when it comes from a private place like a detention center, it says prison jail.
That must have been a nightmare and still is a nightmare for you. You were home, you have two kids. Obviously, it was just another really busy day being working parents trying to raise your kids and make a life and do all the things that can be challenging for anybody. So I believe this in February, very early February.
February 1st.
Did you think was going to happen next, and what sort of help did you have, if any?
Oh, so when I found out, I ran over to Delaney Hall at 10:30 at night. Um, I spoke to a guard. And I was really wanting to see my husband. I really wanted to go see him, but they said no, that he's getting processed, and that you can't see him until he gets into a unit, and then follow a visitation hours. I said okay, but can I see him? Can I just like he made a phone call? He's like, yes, we treat them very well here. We give them a phone call. They have food, they have blankets, they're not starving, they're fine. I said, but then why is he here? Like why? Like I didn't understand. And he said, okay, relax, take a breather. We're not gonna do anything to him. He's safe. He's better than in a prison. He's better than in a prison place. You just need to relax. He's gonna get processed, and then you're gonna be able to see him every time that there's visiting hours. I said, does he have food? Like, is he gonna get food until he's processed? Like until he gets into a unit? He said, relax, breathe. He's gonna get food. He's gonna get really good food during this time. Just because you're in the processing center, it doesn't mean that you're gonna be treated badly. In the processing center, just the same inside, we treat them very well. So I left a little bit calm, but then when when I got a call a couple days later, after that he's been in a unit and I went to go see him, um, I just realized that the whole situation was just really horrible. People were waiting in line for hours. The visitation didn't start the time it did need to start. Um, People would be crying. People would be desperate. People would be running in line and everything. And I'd be like, "What? I didn't understand that. If this is so well of a place, then why are you doing that?"
Why is it so badly run? Why is it
Yes,
such?
and I didn't understand. And then a lot of people like told me, um Like, you have to relax. He's okay. I mean, it's not the best place, but he's okay. He has people around. He just needs to trust in God, just trust the process and just, keep visiting him. He needs to see that you're here. Don't give up on him, etc. When we
So what did they say was the process? Because did they tell you why he was arrested? Did they tell you whether or not he had been read his rights? Did they tell
Nope.
you anything about usually when you're arrested in a normal situation, whatever, if you could call it normal, if there wasn't a warrant out for your arrest specifically, they have to have a hearing in front of a judge within a very short period of time, usually within a day or so, where they're showing probable cause and the judge decides
Yes.
whether you should be, released on bail and all that sort of thing. Was there any sort of talk about any kind of process?
No. They don't ever tell you those things, but from my husband, he told me that it was just the language barrier and that they just arrested him because they got frustrated.
Right. Uh, which, by the way, is not typically a reason why people get arrested. So when he was, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, please. When he was taken, he was not given any specific reason for why they were taking him. He was not given any process, and also, did he have an asylum case pending at that time
Yes.
already? So
Yes.
can you explain that a little bit and what that meant? What was already in the works for him?
So he had an asylum case pending for 2028. He came to this country seeking asylum. So he had his court date ready set for 2028, but they didn't care about that. And even with his asylum case, I already, when we got married, I did the I-130 petition asking for him, and that still didn't matter to ICE.
Can you please explain the I-130 petition briefly?
I-130 petition is when you're married to a U.S. citizen and they just ask for you.
Right, because you know, not to sound ridiculous, but I swear to you, most Americans before all of this started happening in this country at this level and this intensity over the last 18 months or so, most people have seen movies and TV shows where people get married to American citizens, and a lot of times they're romantic comedies, and it's about how they're going to, stay together. And guess what? They usually fall in love. It's that kind of fanciful thing. I think most Americans, at least before a couple of years ago, thought that being married to an American gave you sort of a special status and you're an American citizen. So tell us how that's not right.
It's not right because yes, like there's like you come with the expectation of getting married to an American citizen and everything you see in movies and films, but it when it happens to real people. My husband and I met when I was 19 years old. Like, that is my long time love. That is my first love. That was everything to me. Like, it's not just like a lot of reporters or people just saying, "Oh, you're like marrying him for paper, or he's marrying you for papers and this and that." My husband and I, we met over 10 years ago. 10 years ago, basically. And we've been together. It's not something that you're doing just to
First, no, it's very insulting. So, first of all, the whole thing about if you are married to an American citizen, you get some sort of special treatment, and maybe they check out like in the movies, like, oh, we want to make sure you're really married. Maybe they do that, but assuming that happens, oh, you're basically going to be fine here. So, first of all, that's not true. And we need people to understand that that is not the case.
no, it's
And
not.
second, and certainly if they ever were given that sort of special treatment, which seems kind of appropriate to me. If that ever was the case, it is definitely not the case anymore. Because we've heard of a lot of people being detained who have been married for years to American citizens.
Yes.
In addition to that, they're basically calling you a liar. Is
And it's insulting because, if if I were getting married to someone just to give them papers, I wouldn't be putting myself out in front of the lines for my husband.
Right.
Like I wouldn't be having his kids. I wouldn't be, like that's my
Seems like a lot of trouble to go through just to perpetuate
exactly.
a scam that gets you nothing.
And it's just, and it's insulting to the people who say, oh well, if you're an immigrant, then go back to your country. You know what? Because if you're deporting an immigrant, you're also deporting their family who are US citizens. If my husband gets deported, me and my kids who are US citizens will be going with my husband, but they're basically deporting a US citizen family. Deporting a US citizen, that an adult. They're deporting two US citizen kids. They're the thing that the Trump administration and just anybody that is Republican or anybody that sees or thinks that the Trump administration is correct, you are basically deporting US citizens. By deporting one American, you are deporting a US citizen family because family members stay together. They stay united. And the Trump administration wants to pursue a great America or America great again by white people. So what happens to all those US citizen kids or members, people, US citizens that are Hispanic, Black, Asian? What about all those people that were born here legally? So is is America great again? Just white Americans? Is that it? Because there's also white Hispanics. There are white African Americans. There are white Asians. There are white all cultures. All cultures are like, what is an American? If you have an answer to that, then gladly, answer it, because you're deporting a family that only comes here to work, to make a living, and to put you on top.
Because you're deporting a whole family. So first of all, that's not very family centric. You're deporting somebody who is married already to you, who has children with you, who is working, and that is exactly the kind of person that we always say we want. They have roots in the community. They have these, and it's been, I don't need to tell you this, and probably not most of the people listening to this, but there have been many, many, many reports by all kinds of organizations with all kinds of different points of view on the world that have told us that at least 90% of the people who they're detaining and taking in are not in any way remotely violent criminals or felons of any sort. So it's not
Nothing.
about that sort of prioritization. And also, he has an asylum case. So none of this stuff that's all planned out for an appropriate judicial review is matters anymore. So
No.
what do have so you're it's February, you're trying to figure out how to manage this process. And what do they tell you? Do they tell you that they're just going to keep him for 2 years until his asylum case? Are they
No, they don't tell you anything. They don't tell you anything. That's the thing. You have to basically just get a lawyer and just file and just go along with the process. They don't tell you anything.
and because we had a process, the process was the asylum hearing. But now that process doesn't matter. So and and when I think you have a lawyer now, is that right? So what have they told you? Have they been before things started escalating at Delaney Hall, and we'll get there in a minute. What were they telling you they could do, or were they just saying like, look, we're just going to keep filing petitions and hope somebody gets back to us?
So they were trying to release him on a habeas, but
Yeah.
um but basically the judge said that he's a flight risk and he has no community support or community ties. So they just didn't grant it for him.
You have no community ties, even though he has children and a wife, and you live here, and people work, and you have families.
Yes. And he's a flight risk. How are you a flight risk if you have a family here? Like,
Why would you have a flight when you're looking for asylum from the place that in theory you would leave to? That's really infuriating. So As time is going on now, we're in February. He's stuck in Delaney Hall. You're trying to see him as much as you can. You're trying to get answers. I'm sure you're running up against a lot of roadblocks, even though you have a lawyer. It sounds like they've denied his petition to be released. So, do you start to get the feeling that what they're trying to do is get him to leave?
Yes, because that's what they do. That's what these detention centers do. They mentally break you and emotionally break you just so that you can sign your voluntary leave. My husband met one person there that he is elder. He was over 70 years old. He already had he's already in his late 70s. Um so he doesn't understand well like anything because he's getting old.
Yeah.
And ICE took advantage of a man that forgets. ICE took advantage of a man that is not well in the head because he's in his old ages now. And they told him to sign this paper so you can be released. The next day, he got deported.
And no one's watching out for him. He's got no one waiting for him on the other side, wherever they sent him. Okay.
And we were because they knew like all his cellmates found out about that signature later that night when ICE was trying to take him, and they didn't know what was going on, and they were trying to block him from getting taken. And then ICE showed the paper that he signed, and they said, but you tricked him, he doesn't understand, he is like he forgets.
They lie and they lie and they lie.
They lied, but they tricked him because they took advantage of a man that is forgetful because of his age. It's just a horrible situation that these people are living in.
So now we're getting into, say it's around March or so. I assume you're now running on a couple different tracks. Like, you're still trying to get him released, as we go through the weeks, the first few weeks. But now you're starting to realize what? You're starting to realize how bad it is inside. Are they starting to deny you things? Or what are you starting to realize as time goes on?
I guess the only February and March they were pretty calm. Like I didn't get denied anything. It was just my husband just being just he was just being just tired of being there. In April actually is when my husband spent basically all of that month sick, and he
Mhm.
was denied medical care. So it was his birthday, and he was sick on his birthday. um like he was just sick the entire month of April. He filled out forms, so I always had to, whenever I went to visit him, which was every 4 days, 4 days out of the week, you get Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays, and Sundays. So I would go, and just every time I would go, I would say, can we talk to a medic so they can see my husband? Can we get someone to review his medical form? The entire month they just said, okay, we're getting to it, we're getting to it, we're getting to it. That's it. Then it was May. That is when everything kind of started.
So you're realizing he's not getting medical care, and are you starting to realize in April that other things are wrong in there, like, and that other people aren't getting care? It's starting to
So in April, it's when my husband didn't get medical care. Is when the milk was expired, when the food was just rotten, when the food had mold. Those things. But in May, it's when it was it was on my birthday, and then it was Mother's Day, and he spent it inside, but he was sick because of the water. The water was yellow. And I think at that point, I was like, okay, we have to try something else. Like, they're not paying attention to the medical needs, they're not doing anything. But it was 1 week before May 22nd. I don't know what is May 22nd minus 7.
May 15th.
Sure.
My mom was a
um,
math teacher.
okay, cool. That's amazing. So A week before May 22nd is when they were fed worms on food.
No, I hear you.
So I was really pissed that it was not just the medical needs, it was not just the expired food, but now it was the worms in the food. My husband called me at like 9 something at night, almost 10. Say, as soon as I answered, he said, don't speak, hold on, let me talk to you, let me talk. And I just stayed quiet. And he said, they just served us worms for food. What do you mean? What do you mean worms? He's like worms, like live grown ass worms. Like this is what they fed us. But I was like, like what? Like, are you sure? And
Because
he
it's
said yes.
unbelievable. It's
Like
unbelievable in this country
like
that that's
it's not that I didn't believe him. It's just that I was surprised
stunned.
how low that they can get. Finding that out, I wanted to organize a family rally, which was only to talk about, the conditions inside this place. But it turned out to be more than that. It turned out to be more of an eye opener for people.
Before we go into the specifics of that rally and how things escalated, took off, you also around this time were starting to get to know the folks who had been out there for some number of months who have been
Yes.
manning a mutual aid tent. So
Eyes on Eyes is a coalition of various organizations, and during these months, they've helped me so much. I am so grateful for Kathy, for Sally, for Wendy, for all of these organizations that make up Eyes on Ice. And just a lot of these organizations. I don't know every single one because it's a coalition of over 10 organizations. It's not just one.
I know we have a mutual acquaintance who is with Project Ninja. So there's a lot of people.
It's a coalition. Yes.
They're helping you out. And so when you are you discussing with them having this family rally at that time?
Yes, yes. They actually helped me, like like show it off so that we can, get families to talk, because it was supposed to be a family rally. It was not supposed to be a protest. It wasn't supposed to be, something that just random people, just come and just, just talk. It was supposed to be a family rally, just so that we can have families, talking about the conditions inside.
And hopefully getting the word out about the conditions, but
Yes.
also so that the people inside know they're being supported.
Yes, exactly. We took a long time to plan this. We took pictures, we did posters. It was just beautiful. It was beautiful. It was peaceful. Ice took it out of hand. It was ice.
I'm kind of going, I think, the same direction you're going, and I just want to lay it out for our listeners a little bit. So you're planning this family rally on the 15th, and
22nd.
for the 22nd, excuse me, 15th was the day that they were fed the worms. So you're planning this rally in part sparked by that on the 22nd, which is also Memorial Day weekend this year. And so you're going to have families speaking, and your name is on the flyer, right? So do
Yes.
you start getting some special attention from people
Um
at Geo or ICE?
um so yes, because as soon as so let me explain to you how. Hold on, let me just turn on the lights.
It's okay. It's great. Light's good. There we go.
So on May 22nd, once the family rally ended, 2 hours after it ended, ICE and GEO staff members brought down my husband to the management office and asked him, if we release you right now, will you tell your wife to stop the protest? First of all, it wasn't a protest, it was a family rally, and it was on the flyer that it was for families. Second, they singled out my husband just because on the flyer it says organized by Gabriela Soto. That's the only reason they singled him out. And the questions that they asked him were ridiculous. They asked him, "Did you know that your wife was organizing this protest outside?" The other question was, are you the one organizing the hunger and labor strike inside? He said no comment to all of those questions, and he said, "Can I go back to my cell?" They took that literally, and they locked him in his cell for hours.
Right.
So, because of the flyer and because of the family rally, he got singled out.
Which feels like a First Amendment problem, a free speech problem to me.
Yes, yes, like it's bogus.
You mentioned the hunger strike and the labor strike. How did that come together at the same time as the family rally? Was there a specific series of events or was it spontaneous? Like what sort of happened?
So it was because of the worms. It was because of the worms in the food. All of the detainees in Unit 2, 2A, and 2B, they were fed worms. And they all chose not to eat. So because the guard said, "Well, if you don't eat the food, then you'll starve until breakfast." Which breakfast, let me mind you, is at 4 a.m. So because nobody wanted to eat the food, they all started talking about how, that was disgusting, and because a lot of them have jobs in order to, get commissary and stuff, they all spoke about, the problems inside. They talked to different units, talking about, like, "Oh, yesterday we were fed worms. Oh my god, really?" So then somebody else would start talking to a different unit and say, "Oh my gosh, did you see that? Did you hear this?" Like, it was not even supposed, like, the hunger and labor strike, it wasn't something that was planned. It was something that just happened because they were tired of hearing of the abuse. One thing is medical neglect, one thing is, just rotten food, one thing is just, but I think the thing that pushed it over the edge was just the worms in the food.
Just so blatant, so blatantly horrible.
Like that was what really pushed it.
And to explain the labor strike for folks who may not know, this is a for profit prison, although this happens in government run prisons when they have contractors too. If you want to make a phone call to your lawyer, it costs $5, even though speaking to your lawyer is a right, but it costs you $5 to call your lawyer. And you either have to have people putting money in your account. There's like a little fake bank account that's only for that prison, only for the commissary, and you can buy a phone call for $5. But times are tough. These probably aren't the richest people in the world. Anybody, if you have $5 for a phone call, it really starts adding up. So you get folks who are working jobs, earning $1 a day based on whatever Geo or Core Civic, I think this one's run by Geo Group, Core Civic feels like paying you because they're just allowed to, private companies, use these people as slave labor, and you get paid like $1 a day. And then you can buy maybe a bottle of clean water. Or after 5 days, you can make a phone call. And they have a vested interest, and please correct me if you think I'm characterizing this incorrectly, but the Geo Group, these private prisons, for profit prisons worth millions, billions of dollars, save money on cleaning the restrooms, on doing the kitchen work, on whatever else it is, because they don't have to hire employees at a full time wage and maybe have health insurance. They just have to pay prisoners who have no option for clean water other than to buy it from the commissary $1 a day. And then if they serve them rotten food, well, then commissary sales are going to go up, aren't they? When the water's terrible and you don't have health care, and maybe you can buy a Tylenol in the commissary, or you don't have maxi pads for women, but they have them for sale. Oh, they're making money on both ends. They're making money by getting labor at like 1/100th of what it would cost them, and then those people have to spend what little they do make right back there at the company store. Is that correct?
Yes, that is modern day slavery.
It is absolutely. There's actually a few groups. One called I think it's ban the exception. I will find the link and put it in the show notes, but is very specifically working to have a constitutional amendment to take that out of the, I think it's the 14th Amendment, as the exception. Because I don't think people, well, you know what? Moving on. That's a different thing for a different day. But that's not happening today. So, and by the way, if you're using Citizens Bank, take your money out of Citizens Bank because they
Yes,
are
please.
enabling Core Civic and Geo Group. They are enabling them to have the cash flow, the business loans, the accounts, everything they need to keep this going. Right? Is that right,
Yes.
Gabby?
Yes, yes. Please, if your heart is in the right place, and if you really do not agree with what is going on with these detention centers, then please just take your money out of Citizens Bank. They are using all of their fundings to give money to these private organizations to basically continue slavery and continue torturing these people.
So now we're at around May 22nd, and because of what had happened the week before, the prisoners have started a labor and hunger strike the same day that you're having this family rally. Your husband has been taken aside because somebody saw your name on a flyer about the family rally, trying to support the prisoners, trying to get them due process and decent medical care and etc. And they put him in his cell for many, many hours. And then what happens?
So then he gets out of his cell, he gives me a call, he tells me what happened. Um he gets back into his unit. So okay, so now it's Saturday. Saturday, it's visiting hours, nothing happens during the day. Then in the afternoon, around 3:30, when I go in for visiting hours, it's around 4 when we go in. 4:30 because we never go in on time. Um all the detainees come down. Everyone from unit 2A comes down except my husband. And I walk over to the guard and I say, "Well, where's my husband?" And then he says, "Oh, before I bring him down, I wanted to talk to you first. So good thing that you came up to me." I said, "Well, I'm gonna come up to you if I don't see my husband. So yes." And he said, "Okay, well, why are you spreading lies about Geo Group and Geo staff members that we feed them worms?" I said, "Because you did." And then he said, "You have to stop spreading lies and stop talking to the media about what is going on here because we're not doing nothing wrong." I said, "Really?" And I said, and I stood back. I took back like one step, and I spread my arms out like this, like like this. And I said, "Do you want me to?" I said it a little bit louder than just speaking privately, but not so loud that people would hear. I said, "Do you want me to ask everyone behind me? Do you want witnesses?" And then he said, in a lower tone, he said, "Just stop spreading lies. Whatever. I'm gonna bring down your husband. Stop spreading lies." And he said, "Okay."
So, first of all, sounds like a threat.
Yes.
Sounds like somebody who is sanctioned and paid and contracted to by the federal government, who is being allowed by the federal government to try to coerce and threaten people so that they will not speak truth. So that seems like a big fucking problem. Please continue.
Yes. So my husband doesn't come down right away. He comes down 15-20 minutes before visiting hour is over, and that visiting hour on weekends is 1 hour. He came down, and the first thing he said is, as soon as the guard was letting him like go through the door, he said in Spanish, he said, this guard right here behind me. He said it on purpose just so that the guard knows that we're gonna talk about him. He was like, "This guard was interviewing me upstairs and was literally singling me out. He told me that if we feed you worms." And then he said, why would I answer that? And then he said, "Why are you letting your wife speak about the conditions about here?" And he says, "My I don't control my wife. She can talk about what she wants to talk about. She can do what she wants to do." And then they asked him, he's like, "We treat you good here." He said, "No, you don't." And he was telling me the entire conversation that they were having. And because my husband doesn't speak English too fast, but he understands. He brought another detainee that speaks English. He said, "Can you tell him to slow down because I can't keep up with him?" And then he said, and then the other detainee told him, "Can you slow down?" And he says, "Okay, well, I'm speaking slowly." And then he said, "No, you're not. You're speaking too fast." He said, "Okay, well, you have to tell your wife to stop spreading lies about this place because we're not doing anything wrong." He says, "You are." He says, "Whatever. I'm just going to bring you downstairs to your wife, but just know that if your wife continues doing this, there's going to be a lot of problems." And my husband said, "Okay, well, talk to my wife. Don't talk to me. I'm locked up. I'm in four walls. I'm in a cell. I don't have control of what she does."
I would like to point out here that you are from New Jersey, as am I. Any smart husband in New Jersey would answer exactly the way your husband did. I don't control my wife.
It's true.
So,
It's true because
Jersey girls, baby. Go ahead. Go ahead.
he was literally saying I can't control her. You have he literally said, "If you have a problem with her, talk to her."
She's an autonomous human being who makes choices all by herself.
And I told him, he did talk to me. He's like, "When did he talk to you?" "Before you came down." He's like, "That's why he took forever to come upstairs?" "Yes.
Mhm.
He talked to me before he talked to you." He said, "Then why the hell did he talk to me?" I said, "I don't know."
So this is happening, right? And then what is going on? What's starting to go on outside? I think there's some word had gotten out that,
We were doing a 24-hour vigil.
and that was when you decided to you decided to do that as the family rally was either going on or finishing when you found
Yes.
out that they had started a hunger and labor strike. Is that,
Yes. So that was a spontaneous moment. That was a spontaneous moment. Yes.
we want them to know we're here for them.
Yes.
And so what starts happening on the outside then?
We were just outside, just staying a vigil, just talking, just being with the family. We were taking turns on staying out. We were writing down, who's gonna stay at what times, who's gonna come, who's gonna leave. It was peaceful. Then on Sunday, I think everything started. This whole thing started was because ICE did not want to uphold their promise. On Sunday, on Sunday at 3:36 p.m. exactly, my husband called me. We talked for about maybe 17 minutes. He called me and we were talking a nice conversation until the ending where an ICE agent said, "Release, release Martin Soto, release out America." So he said, "Wait, what?" Like and then I said, am I hearing that right? Are they saying release?
Is that like it's over like a loudspeaker or something?
No, they just really scream like
Oh,
they come into your room, into your unit, into your cell,
okay.
and they just really scream. They scream like really loud. They say release, like they scream like they're like in like the army or something. And I heard it over the phone, and it was in a recorded and monitored line from Geo Group. From Geo Group, it was in a recorded and monitored line. That is the thing that really is messing me over, because if you're able to lie on a recorded and monitored line, then what the hell are you able to do when there's no cameras around?
Okay, what are they lying about? You hear that? What is it that they're
So
doing that's a lie?
they get him to sign an order of release, which is to go out to get freed. But little do they know, it's just a transfer paper, because as soon as everything goes down with my husband, I tell people outside cosecha, I tell them, "Stay outside. Please do not let a van leave. I don't trust these geo staffs. I do not trust ICE agents. They were threatening my husband just a couple days ago, Friday and Saturday. And now all of a sudden he's released? I don't buy that. I don't buy that. Please do not let a van leave. Please block this exit. Please Do not let my husband get transferred, please. I go inside with another volunteer just in case, visiting time, can continue with him. And they were just lying to him. I go inside. The thing that really fucked me over, sorry for the language,
Honey, that's my favorite word. Go ahead.
was the fact that when someone is getting released, it's on the system and you do not have the right to visit, right? So I go in and me and the volunteer say, Martin Soto, we give the A number, we give all that information, bada boom, bada boom. And they say, okay, just wait. We wait with everybody else, in line, in the wait list and everything. Something is going on in the back of my head. Something just tells me just keep watch outside of the visiting chapel ramp. I just stay outside staring at the ramp where they get released, right? Moments later, maybe like 5, 10 minutes later, I see my husband walking on the ramp with ICE agents and geo staff. I see him and I run over to the volunteer and I say like that's my husband, that's my husband, that's my like I'm like losing my mind. I'm saying that's my husband. And then she's like, please just relax. I don't think it's him. They said release and he's on the paper, so we're gonna see him. If he was gonna get released or if he was gonna get transferred, then we wouldn't be in here. We wouldn't be able to get in here. I said, I saw him. I saw him. That is my husband. I was losing my mind. I ran from the ramp. I ran to the fence and I said, that's my husband. You can't take like so she calmed me down. I saw my husband. I saw ICE agents glance at each other out of nowhere. Just glance at each other. Next thing you know, they grab him by his ankles and his wrists and throw him in the van. And I start panicking. I start screaming. I start running towards the gate, towards the revolving doors. And I'm like, that's my husband. I'm getting out. I'm getting out of here. I'm getting out of here. I start ringing the bell, the whatever the thing is. And I'm like, get me out, get me out. I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to get out. A geo staff member tells me, no, you can't get out right now. It's visiting hours. I said, you can't tell me not to get out. Like, if I want to get out, then I want to get out. I start losing it. Then the van leaves already. So the van leaves and I'm losing it. I'm losing it inside because I am gated inside. Next thing, like after like 20 minutes, like they just open the revolving door. I run out. All the geo staff members that are in the security room and everything, all of them are laughing while I'm running out pregnant, running out crying, screaming and everything. And I'm running out and they just they're laughing. I go out, I see that protesters, cosecha, and just other organizations out there that were doing the 24-hour vigil, like they were just letting the van not move. I run and I'm like, no, 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 you said, and I started screaming at the van. I said, you said release, you said release, get him out. You said release. You are not, like, I'm losing it at this point. I'm losing it. And I start banging on the window of the van and I said, that's my husband, you're taking my husband, you're kidnapping my husband. Like you said release, you said release. In a recorded and monitor line, you said release. And I'm losing it. And I say, roll your window down, roll your window down. I want to talk to you. You said release. And like they wouldn't roll it down. I'm sorry if I'm getting like too
No,
like
no. No, no,
like
go
it's
ahead.
I'm just reliving it right now.
I'm sorry if it's traumatizing is the only
and
thing I'm
and
getting
and,
out.
li- and like and like I stand in front of the van and I'm like, don't move the van, like don't move the van like that, like that's my husband. You said release. I said you said release and I'm screaming release. And like and people are just all over the van just saying like, let him out, let him go, let him go. Like you can look up the live on cosecha live from May 24th. You can look that up and they're like, let him go, like so much, and they're saying back up, that's right, keep going back, keep going back. As soon as I see the van almost going back, I like start running towards that gate, and I'm trying to go inside, and I keep saying, "Arrest me, release him, arrest me, release him." And like people are just worried because I'm pregnant. I'm here running. I'm here like anxious and everything, and then I fall to the ground because people are just holding me back. I hated that moment because like why the hell are you holding me back? Let me go inside. I'm trying to go like protect my husband.
Yeah.
And I hated that. Like people were holding me back, like, and because they're saying that they're dangerous. They're dangerous. If you go inside, they're going to do something to you. I said, I don't care. Like I was screaming, I don't care. Like just like let me go inside. But then they start locking the door, they start locking the gate, and then they say, like, no, you can't go inside. That whole entire moment is 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 what started everything going on outside with the protesters because they lied. They said release, and they were trying to transfer him.
First of all, I'm so sorry. Also sorry because I think you want to tell your story at the same time. I also don't want to re-traumatize you. Like, so if there's anything you don't want to talk about, we don't have to. But
No, it's okay.
I want to have that balance because you are pregnant, and like we want you to be healthy. He would want you to be healthy, right? As healthy as you can be. So, but thank you for sharing that. When and just to clarify, you didn't know this at the time while all that was going on necessarily, but what they had done is they had taken a document, a misleading document, and had him sign it. Can you explain that a little bit?
That's just what they do.
I mean, like they told him something, and it was obviously
They
something.
they 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 know that the people in there don't speak English or read English. It's just mm, it's just really stupid. They said order of release, and then it was just fabricated just so that they can get him to sign a transfer document.
And what they were doing instead of releasing him, and this is for the audience, is they were they wanted to sign away his rights so he could be transferred to another facility, which is often something they do to punish people. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so they said, "Oh, you're going to get released," but of course he wasn't. He was being transferred. In this case, he was being transferred to Elizabeth, New Jersey, which is not that far away, but they were doing it because to punish you for the
They
protest at
wanted
the big event at the big Delaney Hall. They wanted to punish him because they decided he was a big reason, even though he was just another guy, but a big reason for the hunger strike and the labor strike, right? So they were trying to break it all up. Is that right?
they were trying to end the publicity on Delaney Hall. They thought that if we transfer this person, then I'm gonna just go see him at EDC, and that's it.
And that's a much smaller place. Right. And it's not, so the other part, all this is going on, right? So you have the family rally at that same moment because of all the maggots in the food and all the disgusting stuff. And the detainees decide to go on a hunger and labor strike, and then you guys say, well, then we're going to be here like supporting them for what they're doing because they can't get due process. They don't have 5 minutes even with the judge when they're not getting medical care. There's terrible stories of women having miscarriages and not getting medical care in there, all kinds of terrible stuff. Somewhere in this point, I believe there was an uptick in actual ICE agents brought in versus just the terrible core civic officers. Is that correct?
When they transferred my husband from Delaney to EDC, they transferred my husband in a regular ICE agent car, like their personal vehicle, not an ICE car, not an ICE car. It was a personal vehicle because in the back seat there was a baby seat.
That's very weird. And also shows that they didn't plan this. Like they were just winging everything. They were just like trying to quick cover a bunch of stuff up or something. Um, but
But
then
but as soon as my husband was transferred back inside Delaney, that is when we started, because I was panicking and I was losing my
when
mind.
was he put back in Delaney?
The 24th, when the van went back inside, when it was outside, and then we pushed it to go back inside. We pressured the van to go back inside, and I couldn't go through the gates. So it went back inside, and because I was panicking and everything, we started calling elected officials. Rob Menendez came not too long after, maybe like 30, 40 minutes after he came down. He was outside asking to go inside. He didn't go inside Delaney behind the gates until maybe like 7:30, 8 o'clock. No, no. So he was still inside Delaney. Rob Menendez was trying to go inside to see my husband, just to see him. But Geo Group and ICE agents were saying no. He says, I have a right because it is a congressional oversight visit. They said, well, we can't let you see that individual. He kept saying, why not, why not, why not? They wouldn't let him. They wouldn't let him. It Now it's the 25th, May 25th at 2 a.m. It's been since 4:30, 5, 6, about 8 hours or so after 4:30 from the 24th. It is now May 25th at 2 a.m. when three ICE cars are leaving the West Wing. They they leave and they're letting, protesters search the cars. They're open. They're willingly opening, letting protesters um just check the cars. Open the doors, put flashlights, everything. All three ICE cars go out. The protesters are closing the barricade. Next thing you know, the last vehicle where I mentioned that my husband was in with the baby seat, that car like drove out through the barricades, through everything while it was closing. He sped out and just zoomed out. Then that car drove my husband to EDC, and they transferred him to EDC. But it was at 2 a.m. And Rob Menendez still wasn't able to go inside. He still didn't go inside. And that morning, Ana Lilia Mejia, the mayor, Ras Baraka, a lot of other officials came that morning. But nothing happened. That same day, around like maybe like 1 in the afternoon, finally, ICE lets Congressman Menendez, Congresswoman Mejia, and Congresswoman LaMonica McIver. Um, ICE lets them go inside for a congressional oversight visit. Then they find out from them that Martin Soto is no longer there. They're saying, "What do you mean he's no longer here? He was here yesterday." He says, "Well, yes, he got transferred at 2 in the morning." He said, "Where? We were like Menendez was outside like this whole time." He said, and then they said from the other exit. They just answered like they just did that. And then he said, "Then why couldn't you let me in during the whole night? Even after he was transferred, why couldn't you let me in? Why couldn't you let me in the morning? Why did you have to wait until right now?" They just didn't have an answer. So they came out. Menendez told me, he's like, "Relax. He's not here." But he knew that I was gonna react. He said, "Relax, relax. He's at EDC. We're gonna go see him right now." I said, "I want to go with you." He says, "Okay, okay, just relax." I said, and I was looking. I was like saying, like, "Who has my keys? Who has my keys?" And then I couldn't go alone. Nobody trusted me to go alone because I was just in the heat of the moment. So people drove me, and we met the congresswoman and congressman there. um and they did a video outside saying about how they kidnapped my husband at 2 a.m., how they transferred him, how the system is unfair, etc., etc. They go inside, they see him, and then we get word that ICE is getting people to sign their order of release, which is the same thing that they got my husband to sign, an order of release, which in little words is getting transferred out. So they start making phone calls.
It's not a release, it's they want to get them transferred.
So they start making phone calls just so that it doesn't happen. But they go inside. Um, and they go see my husband. They talk to him about like what happened, what did they do, how did the whole thing happen, if he's okay, what did they do to you, etc. And they pressure Core Civic to let me go see him because I couldn't go see him. He's in solitary, so he doesn't have visitation. But they say like we are congressmen and congresswomen, we're here, we're saying that she has to go see him, his wife is pregnant. This happened because they don't even know what happened. They just know that geo staff members and ICE agents just dropped him off like a package and told Core Civic, do what you want with him. That's it.
During this weekend, at some point, my understanding is that there were more and more ICE officers that showed up versus there used to be mostly the Geo Group people at Delaney, but then a bunch of ICE officers showed up. And that's when things started deteriorating outside. Is that right?
Yes.
And so around this time, all this is going on, and you're going back and you're going back and you're protesting at Delaney, you're trying to visit your husband at Elizabeth. He still doesn't have due process, all this other stuff. But at that time, there's more protesters are coming, and they are really trying to also support the detainees on the inside who are still doing a hunger strike. They're still doing a labor strike, and now all these ICE people come in, and they start just kicking people's asses. They just start like they're peaceful protesting. They are not on ICE grounds, but they are pepper spraying them, they're hurting them, they're doing all kinds of bad things to them. And at one point, Senator Andy Kim shows up. He's pepper sprayed among other people. um he becomes quite an advocate, I think. Is that fair to say in your mind,
Yes.
for the people there on the ground? And then, you don't have to talk about this if you don't want to, but you've got lots of important things to weigh and when you make decisions about what to say or not to say. But my understanding is then that Governor Cheryl, who couldn't get in, and she's not a congressperson, okay, they couldn't get a health inspector in there for a while, but then she has decided that she's going to send in the New Jersey State Police to protect the protesters. But when they get there, they're all in riot gear, they're on horseback. Were they protecting the protesters or were they doing something else?
No, they were protecting the ICE agents. So our amazing governor, she made the situation worse because not only were ICE agents getting protected, but they were being retaliated on with the protesters.
The New Jersey State Police were retaliating against the protesters. And we all saw a lot of that video over at least a week of incidents. And
Over a week.
what is your feeling? I mean, I'll tell you my feeling from over here, not just watching it unfold on mostly on social media because it was undercovered on for a long time and still sort of is in the mainstream media. She said they were going to protect you, and essentially, in my mind, she said if we're really really good to our abusers, ICE, then maybe they won't be mean to New Jersey and they won't escalate and they won't surge. It's like, girl, they are surging right now. What are you talking about? But also, in order to do that, we're going to curtail, infringe on, try to put a muzzle on your First Amendment rights,
Yes.
not just the right to free speech, but to assemble and to petition the government, which is a protest, right? Those are all in the First Amendment. We're going to do that. And
Correct.
even though we're telling you to stay over on this side of the street, even if you do stay on that side of the street, we're still going to keep pushing you. We're still going to keep kettling you. We're still going to keep beating you. We're still going to bring out the horses. We're going to drag you. We're going to pepper spray you. And for good measure, what did they do? They destroyed the mutual aid tent, which was in a completely safe area. And
That was the most heartbreaking of the whole thing, because the mutual aid tent was a safe place. It provided food, it provided toys for the kids, it provided diapers. Everything was thrown away.
right, because when people came in there, right, you have families and little kids, and they might have to wait there a long time. So the mutual aid tent had diapers, it had like drinks and snacks, it had like maybe it had blanket. Also, you they had like wardrobe requirements when you go visit, right? So you like you. I went to the Vatican once a long time ago, many years ago. You like couldn't wear anything above your knee, or so they had clothes there people could put on to go visit folks. And it was not in the way of anything. Am I correct about that? They said you have 15 minutes to move this stuff that's been there for many months, and then at 10 minutes they just ripped up the whole thing. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And I think we talked about this briefly at a different point. But it seems like what you have told me is that what they were really doing by breaking up the protesters was trying to destroy the spirits of the protesters inside, the detainees who were having the labor strike and the hunger strike. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, because they pepper sprayed the entire facility.
How does it make the detainees feel when there are people outside saying we're here?
It makes them feel strong. It makes them feel like they have hope. It makes them believe that, I don't have to sign away my voluntary leave. I have people here that are fighting for us. We have people here fighting for us. But because they broke that down and they started scattering people all around, they they just it broke down the spirits for people.
So do you think that Governor Mickey Sherrill has made people of New Jersey safer?
No, she is making our state a lot worse. I have met with her personally. I said, please, can you do something about this? Please, this is your state. Please, can you help do something about this? And she said, and I quote, I will try my best. Okay. So I stayed calm in that moment. She went in. She tried to go by the gates. She couldn't go in. And I said, "That's it." And I was like, "Wait, that's it? That's it? That's all it takes? It's just one question and no, and that's it?"
And so when she's now, many people over the last week or more have been transferred out of Delaney on purpose and back. And there was some debate about, are the hunger and labor strikes still going on? Well, it's very much different people there right now. They've moved people maybe across the country. Um, and
They did. Over 75% of the people, they have moved across the country, and it's just brand new people they're bringing in.
so to summarize, Mickey Sherrill's, and then the Newark cops, they hurt and beat up protesters. They protected ICE agents. They removed the thing that was giving detainees the emotional support in order to fight for their legitimate constitutional rights, not to mention human rights like not having worms in your food and having medical care. Anything that would be given of a prisoner of war would be given, that's the kind of level. We're not talking about the moon here. Um, and now all these people have been moved, about 75%, you said, and nobody's getting more health care. Nobody's getting better food. No one's getting more than the 3, 4, 5 minutes with the immigration judge for hearings. And it was just Father's Day yesterday. So what do we do now? What do you guys need?
We need people to call Congress, to call the representatives, to call their senators. We need people to continue calling and making this urgent. We need people to understand that these people that have been transferred out, they were retaliated on. We need people to stand up for these immigrants. These immigrants, they are innocent. They're not doing anything wrong. They come here to live the American dream when they are the American dream. These immigrants are the American dream, and you're deporting them. You're ripping up families. You're separating U.S. citizen families. I have met people there that have residency. That is legal. That is legal. And you are tearing up these families apart. You can't do that. We need people to understand that that these places are just pure evil. They are run by evil people, by the Trump administration. And we need these people to be freed. We need to free the people and then close it down. But we only have to close it down after the people are freed, because if we close it down before, then they're just going to get scattered across the country. And that's not what we want. We want our family members to stay near us, because what is a person from New Jersey gonna go to Louisiana just to go visit them?
That's part of the retaliation and that you were getting at. It's not just that you're going to a different place and it's down the street and they're moving people around. It's that they're moving them to places that are more remote, places that might be friendlier to keeping people out, where it's going to be much harder for anybody to go visit them on a regular basis, to check in on them and their well-being, somewhere in Texas, somewhere in Louisiana, or in Florida. That's how this is retaliation. It's separating them. And so people, they want people in a black hole. So there's nobody to help them with their legal rights. There's nobody to say, hey, this guy had a green card and was doing everything right. Why is he even here? You know, there's
Exactly.
nobody. When they're trying to make it so difficult that these break these people down and say, fine, deport me, or just keep them in this black hole forever, and maybe they just get sick, maybe they die. And that is when you say retaliation, just so people understand the context there. It's not just like, oh, they move people around. There's a lot more to it than that. Um,
Yes.
do we want people outside Delaney Hall peacefully in shifts standing up for the people who are in there now?
Yes. We need people to understand that having people outside, it's the fact is, having people outside peacefully, ICE finds that as a threat and they come after those people. That is why in theory, if you have no protesters outside, even if they are peaceful, ICE doesn't have a reason to come outside. But even if there's peaceful protesters, ICE comes outside, they start pepper spraying, they start, ramping up the situation. So it's not that we shouldn't have protesters outside, it's just that ICE just doesn't want that.
The detainees want that.
The detainees want to know that there's people out there looking for them, standing with them. And the only way that they can understand that people are with them is if they hear the sound of freedom. They hear the sound of freedom, the sound of peaceful. And that is what we need to continue fighting for.
Is there something Mickey Sherrill could do to make it better? Maybe just not send state police to protect ICE.
At this point, just don't do anything. Just not doing anything is it's a lot more helpful. Because really, at the end of the day, even if we tell her, Mikey Sherrill, come down to Delaney Hall and talk to the detainees, she's just gonna do that for publicity. If we tell her, Mikey Sherrill, come down, so stand with us while we're advocating for them, stand with us, protesting, she's just gonna do that for publicity. At the end of the day, we want our governor to do something, but she's not gonna do it with nothing in return.
She doesn't need a PR on your backs. She can do something first, and then. actually do something. Is there anything else that people need to know about what you need? I know that you're working on a petition, and I
Yes.
have a number of links to PAX Christie, Cosecha, Food for NJ, and Give Butter, so people could get that water and stuff at the commissaries. We have all that we're going to put in the show notes. But what else? And we're all going to call our Congress people, no matter where we live, because Congress people are on different committees. People have different oversight. We want all of this happening. What is there anything else before we let you go? It's been a long day for you.
Um, I think it's just donating. I think it's just donating to the buttermilk and to all of these other organizations that that help out with commissary. Um, Signing the petition to release my husband. It's bit.ly/free Martin Soto. And if you could just take a minute to just sign the petition, it would mean the world to me to sign the petition.
Ideas that public pressure, especially now that somebody has had this spotlight on him and it feels more dangerous for him, that it's not necessarily the way it should happen, but that might be able to help him get
Get
out.
we're trying to get him on a discretionary release by ICE, but we need to show that there's community support.
Right, because going back to the beginning of this interview, they claim that even though you have a whole family here and you have relatives here and all this other stuff, and it's not like he lived in a bubble, they claim that he was a flight risk. So we're trying to show
Yes.
community support and not a flight risk, which is
And if you can please just vote for toddler of the year for my daughter.
okay.
She has been through enough. She went through her birthday to see her dad, and a geo staff member ripped up a picture that she spent all day drawing that she just wanted to give to her dad for her birthday. In school, we just had parent teacher conference, and she relates every flashcard to Delaney Hall. A building, she says, bad. My dad is in there. A cop car, wee wee, they take my dad. An ambulance, bad. They don't take care of my dad. She sees a picture of a family. She says, mommy, brother, sister, yay. Daddy, sad. She sees a picture of a puppy and she says, daddy, working to get puppy, but no more.
Oh, is she going to get a puppy?
We were trying to get her that for her birthday, but he got detained. So her mental health right now is just traumatized. She is missing her dad every single day. And winning toddler of the year would mean that she leads the LA parade, Christmas parade. And she has a sense of just a normal childhood, of a little bit normal childhood. And if my husband gets released, which I know he will get released, he will get released and we will be together again this year. He would be more than thrilled to see his daughter doing
Just something fun.
something fun, something amazing.
Just something fun. Just good clean fun. I born and raised in New Jersey. I live in Baltimore now, but I was born and raised in New Jersey. My whole family still lives up there. My mother grew up in Bloomfield and my father grew up in Kearney, where you are, a long time ago. My grandparents and great grandparents came through Ellis Island, like the old story, right? And my father grew up in Kearney, and he was the son of an immigrant, Jewish immigrant from what is Ukraine. And it was so long ago that it used to be in the Russian Empire when he came over. It was so long time ago. It was way over 100 years ago. And my my grandfather on my father's side was from this big working class family. in Manchester. They all worked in in the like coal factories and stuff in Manchester, England, 120 years ago, whatever it was. And and you guys are the new. It's the same story, right? And then my mother's family, they're all Italian. They're all crazy Italians. So the and they were all from Italy. So this is 2 generations ago. It's not that long ago. It's, two people ago. My grandparents coming into the same place where you live right now, who were immigrants too. And it's not that they had it easy, but they were all white, and their story is not so different than anybody else who's in Delaney Hall right now. And it's shocking and horrifying that the same people going through the same process, that this, like you said, they are America. They are America. And so I am extra angry about this, and I'm extra focused because it's New Jersey. But I just want you to know that people like millions and millions of people like me understand that they are America, and we're going to do what we can. Nobody can do everything, but together we can do lots of things. So
El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. That means that united we stand and together we are strong.
that's right. All right. Well, claws out. I'm not going to make you do it. But claws out. That's what we say. Like, that's our be strong. Cat ladies, it's claws out. Yeah, yes. When we want to say strong, when we want to buck somebody else, we say claws out. Like, be ready. You can take them.
Sure.